So I'd like to welcome everybody. My name is Gerard Daché. I'm the Executive Director of the Government Blockchain Association. And this is a part of an ongoing series that we do. We generally do it every week, sometimes a couple times a week. And this is essentially a discussion session that we do. So let me just tell you a little bit about the Government Blockchain Association for those of you who don't know. We are a 501c6 industry association. So our goal is to, we're a business league. So our goal is to promote our members. And we do it around looking for topics that are of interest to our members and really looking at solving problems, public sector problems, by bringing the public and private sector together around blockchain technology. We do have about 120 chapters around the world. And, with the COVID times, we moved to a lot more online meetings. Our hope is when the COVID restrictions subside, that we'll be able to do more in-person meetings, because the idea behind the chapters is really to create local communities, and those chapters are essentially work in tandem with over 50 working groups. So we have 50 working groups on all of these different topics. And what happens with the working groups is anybody in the public sector is invited to join GBA for free, and they come and they say, here's a problem, here's a challenge, here's what we're trying to solve. And then the folks in the working groups, they say, well, here's our solution, here's our white paper, here's our demo. And then those solutions can essentially be pushed out through the chapters globally. So what we try to do with our members is create a place where they can develop and improve and share lessons learned and really improve their products and capabilities, and then help them push those out through the chapters. The purpose of this meeting today, we always try to be both educational and also promote our members. So we have several blockchain solution providers, and they're going to talk about the difference between sort of the early sort of first and second generation blockchains and the kinds of technology that they're working on. And I'm asking each of the speakers really to do two things. One is to educate the members of the call on what a modern blockchain looks like. So if everybody sort of immediately thinks about going to Bitcoin or Ethereum, we want them to understand that there are options, and then also to promote them. So we'll have 3, 4, 5, probably more than that, blockchains represented, and they're going to tell you why their blockchain is good, and hopefully give you some information and ammunition to help select the right technology that's good for you. In addition to chapters and working groups, we have events. So if you go to our events page, you'll see all kinds of events, which includes our working group meetings and public meetings. This is a public meeting. And then the next big event that we have coming up is going to be September 27th to October 1st. I would highly recommend that if you do plan on going, that you get your tickets. This is going to be at the in Washington, D.C. in several venues, including the Chamber of Commerce, the Library of Congress, several different embassies, including the British and the Embassy of Bahrain. But it will wrap up, well, it'll be at the DC Attorney General's office, but it'll wrap up at the US Capitol for an event we call the Future of Money Governance and Law. And that, I'll just show you this quick little video about that. Oops, sorry. Let's try that one more time. Or I'm going to get to it here. Videos. So we also have a YouTube channel, which I would highly encourage you to check out. There's a huge amount of content, and I can't get to it super quick. So Mark, I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to you. Mark Wasser is a GBA CTO. We are incredibly indebted to him for just so many things that he's doing. But Mark, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and feel free to share as you like. And I can see your screen, but I can't hear you.
You got me now?
We totally got you now.
Awesome. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, regardless of what time zone you're in. I'm Mark Wasser. As Gerard mentioned, I'm Chief Technical Officer of the GBA, and our discussion today is about next generation blockchain platforms. I assume that Most people are familiar with the various early generations of blockchain, starting with Bitcoin, moving through smart contracts for Ethereum, and a lot of the current work, which is focused on speed, scalability improvements, and at times special purposes. Unfortunately, the history of blockchain is sort of most notable for problematic choices. For instance, the main purpose of Bitcoin was to enable a currency that was not able to be regulated by any government. So cryptocurrency immediately started out with what they believed to be total anonymity. Unfortunately, this has turned into pseudonymity, and while for users, this doesn't matter that much, it certainly does make certain things like addressing a minor problem. But for miners and validators, it causes a huge problem since anyone can be a miner or on public networks, anyone can be a validator. There's a real question of how you handle inappropriate behavior, and a lot of blockchain coding and other things is dedicated to problems that wouldn't exist unless there were anonymity or the close facsimile thereof. Other problems are that for some reason, much of blockchain was done de novo. For users, the user interface for the most cases are just terrible. For programmers, for some reason, Ethereum pretty much reinvented the wheel. Solidity has at this point, I believe, 8 major documented problems that if you don't avoid them, and there are very few guardrails, it's very easy to set up smart contracts that will lose money. And a lot of the reason why is that they opted for a Turing complete language as opposed to a language that could be verified by proofs, and it could be ensured that mistakes couldn't be made. The reward structure is unfortunate to say the least. Many things become impossible when you have transaction fees. In particular, Ethereum is almost unusable at this point. I tried to do a straight up transaction the other night, and it was $10 to transfer any amount of money. So since even though I was transferring about $250 worth, I'm looking at that and eventually decided it wasn't worthwhile. And of course, there's the major problem that everyone wants their blockchain to be the one and only blockchain. This has the major disadvantage for each blockchain in that they actually have to implement all the desired functionality. And this actually makes it more difficult to optimize blockchains for specific purposes. So really, the future of blockchain is not one monster blockchain. It's a platform of many different blockchains doing what they do best. As Peter Drucker says, you really want to focus on what you do best and let other people do the rest. So we have a number of what I would call next generation examples. The Cosmos blockchain, I would call it cluster, supports many different blockchain types, but unfortunately, they all need to be built upon the same base. Tendermint is their variant of Ethereum. It accepts Solidity programming. It interfaces reasonably easily with Ethereum. But again, any blockchain that wants to join the Cosmos family has to have its engine rebuilt on top of the Cosmos base. Hyperledger, of course, has a development project they've been working on for the past year and a half or so. Unfortunately, it's still in development and it's more focused on finalization of um, cryptocurrency exchanges and other operations which need to be carried out in parallel. And it appears as if it's going to be very difficult to implement. Polkadot is what everyone is raving about now. It seems very interesting, but again, it requires a centralized chain that everyone goes through. So once again, we have the global problem, and it's not clear how easily other blockchains will be implemented as their so-called parathreads. And last but not least, there's Polygon. It's from Eastern Europe. It looks like another very good option. However, it only supports interconnections between Ethereum compatible blockchains, hopefully to be expanded in the future. And of course, our shining crown is the government business blockchain platform. What we're building here is a blockchain interconnection fabric that can link any blockchain and provide products and services across all blockchains. Of course, we're going to have a marketplace so that we can not only provide a variety of services, but also provide combinations of services without the user having to necessarily what's going on behind the scenes. And we're trying to gather together a whole bunch of services and utilities and data collections and everything else. And we're trying to provide them with common interfaces. So as mentioned above, we can easily combine them and make them accessible to anyone without a huge learning curve. It's actually a fairly simple or straightforward technical architecture. Most blockchains that we are attached to, we do so by providing a reasonably standard interface that it is easy for them to connect to. Most of the connection is performed on blockchain. If someone wishes to communicate to a distant blockchain, they actually write to their own blockchain, and the gateway picks it up and does whatever necessary to transfer it across blockchains. We have a hub and spoke design. There's a Ethereum proof of authority blockchain, Hyperledger Besu, that is the core hub that was selected because of the fact that it is, or it can have free transactions. We have gas price set to 0. It also has the huge installed base of Solidity code and a large base of Ethereum developers. And as I said, then what we have are distributed gateways to other blockchains. The different gateways of the same types or connected to the same blockchain interact through the use of a very simple locking mechanism. So they really don't have to communicate with each other. The gateway which establishes a lock performs an operation, and there is no contention, no duplicate transactions, and life is very good. The connections to oracles and other applications is the same. Generally, it's very nice because we only have to provide one interface to any given service from an oracle or the like, and the results can be distributed to any blockchain that's attached to the fabric. We do have a cross-blockchain utility token. It's worth mentioning because this enables us to transfer value throughout the system. You can easily pay for provided services. You just buy your utility tokens on your own blockchain, and just say, hey, I'm paying X amount for this service. And behind the scenes, it's magically transported to the service owner who can, of course, sell it. The GBA actually has a lot of integration projects in the pipeline. This can give you a good idea of the incredible diversity that you can have if instead of being stuck on one blockchain, you can actually connect to multiple blockchains. Self-sovereign identities are particularly important, something that you will see a lot more of in the future. The healthcare delivery blockchain platform at the bottom is particularly noteworthy because we needed to choose a HIPAA and GDPR compliant blockchain, which we're then connecting to. Another advantage of the GBBP is that we are able to attach once to a variety of services, and then we can actually white box those services so that they're easily transferred to other jurisdictions. There's also the advantage that once we have outgoing interfaces to given systems that are owned by various state agencies, a wide variety of blockchain applications can use our interfaces as opposed to having to write their own. And I am currently looking for volunteers who would like to look to work on the GBBP. We're welcoming people who would like to run nodes. We actually can run the blockchain on nodes that are running on Raspberry Pis. Those are the roughly $100 cigarette-sized hobbyist computers. We're also looking in particular for people who have blockchain-based services that you're interested in selling. It's easy enough to connect your blockchain, and GBBP is really going to thrive on the value and services provided by others. We are basically infrastructure and interconnection capabilities, and it's what rides on top of us that matters.
So I'm really excited by this. Hey, this is Greg from the Intercoin project, and this is something that's very, I think, needed right now because people are trying to get
Hey, Greg. Hey, Greg.
Yeah?
Let's hang tight. Let's let all the speakers speak, and then I'm going to open up for open discussion when we're all
sorry.
done.
I didn't understand the format.
No. It's all good. We generally have a fairly loose format. Just because we have a number of speakers, I want to kind of get through all of it. But Mark, is that a wrap up for you?
Yep, absolutely. That's why I have my GBA slide there.
All right.
Can I just have one quick question? Does this use Interledger protocol or version 4 or anything like that? Does it support it?
It does not currently use Interledger protocol. That's something that I'm afraid that I would have to investigate. I'm not familiar with it.
All right, cool. Because it does use those locks, so it's probably very close to supporting it. All right. Anyway, that was my only question, really.
Cool. Yeah. Hang tight until the other speakers come, and then by all means, I'm trying to reserve. I'd like to reserve an hour, although I think we won't have quite that much. At least a half hour for open discussion and questions. With that, let me turn to Ryan Williams. So Ryan Williams and actually David may be able to do their stuff together. Ryan Williams is I don't know what your title is, Ryan, but I know that you are the top dog at the Blockchain Academy, and you guys teach courses on all kinds of different next generation platforms. And Ryan is just brilliant, but because he's in the education space, he's got a wide perspective. And then David Wasson is with SIMBA Chain, and they're a development. They're essentially a low-code development solution that allows people to code on many different blockchains. So I'm going to let them talk, and then after that, we're going to go to some of our blockchain experts, and they're going to share information about their particular blockchain. So Ryan, why don't you kick us off, and then we'll move over to David.
Great, thank you, appreciate it. And I'm going to tee up David because I absolutely love SIMBA Chain. and their product. Any of the non-technical folks on here that really want to not only conceptualize and grasp, blockchain from a real practical standpoint, but as Gerard had mentioned, the no-code approach allows you to map out a minimal viable product of what you're actually, have had in your head or trying to attempt, and then take that code and bring it to a team of developers to make haste, right? So our approach, I'm going to show kind of one of our partners, but we partner with college universities around the globe now. It's getting started mostly on the non-credit side of these institutions to upskill people, right? We need developers, larger developer pools, and we need industry in the sectors that are going to be most impacted, obviously starting with finance. But we're getting to a point where, all the working groups that Gerard had showed at the top of the presentation here, it's going to impact everything. So where do we begin? So I'll quickly share with you, some courses that we're doing, say with North Carolina State University. And, we have business courses, developers, and professional, but I want to focus on developer because we're talking about advanced training and certification. So, we feel right now Ethereum, Hyperledger Fabric, Corda, and EOS are the, most widely adopted in terms of jobs available right now. So we're focused on where the skills are, where the jobs are. And we're also talking to Algorand and Casper Labs and a few others that are really emerging there. And we're open to other things. The point is we're supposed to remain agnostic for the communities that we're serving, both domestically in the United States, but also internationally. And the idea is to spin up other programs as it gets traction with the community, right? So on the professional front, we're tackling supply chain, insurance, legal and regulatory professional, accounting, finance, and healthcare. And so if anybody wants to understand these things better, I highly recommend it. And I will hand this off to David over at SIMBA Chain. But it's one thing to learn these programs, or learn blockchain, but putting it into practice and showing something that college universities want to put out in the marketplace, and that students really can glom onto and get employment or actually build a team together to build a minimal viable product. That's what the industry needs, and so it's a matter of kind of going to where the ball's going to be, right? So. Our point is just to provide the skills to get people and their organizations where they need to go. I'll hand this off to David Stevens, but I'll just leave you with, we're kind of a hacker industry, but we're growing up and we quite quickly have to establish standards of skill, right? In these new industries, there tends to be a race to the bottom as to, nobody's a blockchain expert in 8 hours, even though we might try to tout that as we're kind of getting our sea legs here. Ultimately, we need to start glomming onto any certifications the Government Blockchain Association puts out there. Wherever there's credibility, we're talking about credibility on blockchains. We need credibility in the communities, and that only happens when we come together and form these standards. So that's something I'm very passionate about, maintaining high standards, and then hopefully we can all, build upon that. So with that, I will hand it off to David Watson over at SIMBA Chain.
Awesome. And then when we open up for general discussion, if you have any questions about where the market's going, where employers are looking for skill, or you're interested in getting skills in your organization, Ryan is a great resource.
Thank you.
David, tell them about SIMBA Chain.
Yeah, great. Well, thanks Ryan for the intro, and thanks Mark. Thanks everyone for inviting us. Yeah, so I don't know. This is my first time at a GBA meeting, believe it or not. So I'm relatively new. I don't know how much time I'm allowed to speak, but I could share a screen and just give you a quick highlight of what SIMBA does, kind of along with what Ryan said, if that's okay. Otherwise, I can just talk to it. It's up to you guys.
Yeah. Go ahead and share. But one of the things that I'd like you to cover in your remarks is. There are a lot of sort of newer next generation platforms. I know you guys are platform agnostic. If you could also talk a little bit about what makes some of the platforms that you guys connect with good options, and maybe in what cases would you use them?
Right, absolutely. Yeah, that's a great point. And actually, you covered a lot at the very beginning. I did make some notes to talk about, the difference between first, second, and third generation, but really you covered a lot of it at the very beginning. So, I mean, obviously with third generation, it's scaling, and there's good second layer solutions out there like, Polygon, but interoperability, which was already discussed. I mean, that's the biggest thing, that we see in this cross chain, and, creative ways for staking tokens to basically make networks thrive and give rewards to node operators. So a lot of creative things, kind of third generation, but there's even one beyond that, what I call kind of bleeding edge generation, which goes even beyond that. But so SIMBA chain is, we are a platform that supports multiple blockchain platforms. So we are agnostic. However, our platform, we can very easily integrate with Ethereum virtual machine. So most of the platforms that we support are Ethereum virtual machine based, Solidity based, with the exception of Stellar. Let me just try to get this in a presentation mode. I guess you guys can see that. So because what we're trying to do, I mean, we came out of a DARPA grant that was given to University of Notre Dame and to a TAMCO, and that was for a project with the Navy Air, and it was a DoD related project. And so most of the protocols that we support are pretty mainstream. And I'll talk about that. I would say at best, they're probably second generation. And we're pretty particular about which platforms we support, but most of them are pretty mainstream and not so much on probably third generation, but definitely second generation. But I'm just going to give you a quick peek at what our platform looks like. I could do a demo, but if you guys ever want a demo, I'm happy to do that for you. But this is just what our platform looks like from just kind of a high level. It's a user interface platform to design smart contracts and launch applications on multiple blockchains. It's a the user interface has kind of got a drag and drop feel to it, kind of a Visio look and feel. But it's all based on assets and transactions and building relationships between those assets and transactions, and essentially making state changes to the asset through a transaction. And you can build out your business model. It really allows the user that's maybe non-technical, that doesn't know a lot about Solidity, to be able to build out their business model. And what's really cool is in the background, it's actually dynamically writing the Solidity code and generating what we call virtual APIs. And these are the platforms that we currently support. So like I said, it's mostly EVM-based platforms. So Ethereum, Quorum, Binance Smart Chain, Hyperledger, and that includes Sawtooth, Burrow, and Fabric. RSK, which is kind of interesting. It's a smart contract on top. It's an EVM actually on top of the Bitcoin network. And then most recently, we just started supporting Avalanche, which has got some pretty fast transaction speeds. And so those are the ones that we currently support. But then, so you can, once you've designed your smart contract using this visual format, you can launch the application onto any one of these platforms. We have a technology called bundle hash. So we're really trying to maximize off-chain storage. And we pretty much use, interplanetary file system, or we also use, Microsoft Blob, but we make that very easy for the user to do, because obviously we're trying to minimize the amount of unnecessary data on chain. We're trying to maximize the off chain, like, JPEGs and PDFs. So we also have a notification capability. So if there's a transaction that's pending, you can get notified on your phone that it's gone through. It's really what this has created. We believe there's been a big gap between, kind of this business user and the technical coder. And we feel that this intersection is being filled, and we're filling that gap, which I think is important. And it's really important in education. I mean, Ryan and I work together a bit in education. There's probably going to be more news coming out about that in the future. But we have a lot of education customers. Many of the universities are using it to teach non-technical students how to write smart contracts and deploy applications on blockchain. But from a business perspective, this is really excellent for proof of concept. You can get to a proof of concept in hours rather than days or weeks, and you can do it really quickly. We kind of call it fail fast. If you have an idea, you build it out, it doesn't work, you can't verify a transaction, you just do it over. And you can do that, repetitively within hours and minutes rather than days and weeks. And then we do have a scaled up version, which is our enterprise version, which is much more robust. We partner with Microsoft Azure and we're integrated with Power Apps. The enterprise version of this uses GraphQL to do queries cross blockchain. So it can go not only query smart contracts on your blockchain, but also go outside and query on other blockchains. Provides endpoints for enterprise to connect with their front office systems like ERPs and CRMs. But that's kind of it in a nutshell. So I'm not gonna share anymore. I don't want to do a sales presentation, but that's kind of the market that we're going after. And I'd say most of the platforms that we're supporting right now are second generation as opposed to third generation. But there's a lot of exciting protocols out there, like you mentioned, Cosmos and Polkadot, and that whole interoperability issue is really keen. So
David, that's awesome. Thank you so much. And make sure you put your contact information in the chat. And I'm going to leave the chat open when we're done. This video will also be recorded on the GBA YouTube channel, so you'll be able to get access to the audio and video there. I don't think they make the chat available, so I'll just leave that open at the end. You can scrape. All right. So those guys have kind of given you sort of a broader perspective. Now, the next couple of speakers that we have are our friends from Ton Labs, DAO Maker, and NEM. And they're going to tell you specifically about their blockchain and how and why their blockchain is a higher generation. And then if we have time, Paul, if you're interested or available, I'd love for you to share a little bit about what L4S is doing. So let's start with Pavel and Ton. So Pavel, why don't you talk to us a little bit about the difference between the old generation and the new generation? What makes them different, and then specifically how what you guys do are part of it. And then when we get into the question and answer section, I want to talk a little bit about your community and how you engage with your community.
Yes, thank you, Gerard. Actually, let me share my screen because I have slides on that, if you don't mind.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So all you have to do is share your screen. I don't think anybody else is sharing.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
Okay,
perfect.
Great. So, yeah, Krypton. Let's go to next slide. And so, as everybody knows, current protocols are struggling on scalability and adoption. If we look at what use cases already have some adoption, you can say that it is only transfers, P2P transfers with millions of users, and the rest, if we talk about, for example, DeFi, there are tens of thousands of people. NFT, there are probably hundreds of thousands of people. So in reality, all current blockchain ecosystems are still lack of real use cases compared to large IT. So when you talk about generation, this segmentation of generation, of course, it is a bit artificial because there are different properties and each blockchain has some features. So we think that there are a number of properties, key properties for a platform to win this race to become like a standard platform for decentralized internet in the future. By the way, our vision is that there will be a limited number of large platforms. Probably it will be the same story as social networks today. So probably maximum 5 large layer 1 chains will exist in 10 years from now, or even in 5 years. We strongly believe that not public, not permissionless or permitted blockchains, they do not bring value. So they could survive some time in corporate solution or intercorporate solutions, but they do not really bring the value, and they do not able to disclose the whole potential of the technology. So when I say that there will be 5 platforms, I'm talking about public blockchains. So when you look at those blockchains, you can think what properties such new blockchains should have in order to be a leading platform. Of course, first of all, you should have high throughput. It should be scalable. It should have powerful smart contracts. And the word powerful here, of course, it stands for Turing complete, because there are no, at the moment, platform. Even now, we see that all specialized languages like Michelson and other, only Tezos has some adoption, but they don't really have use cases. And I think such solutions will not grow, because it is very hard to program for such platforms. Of course, it is a good idea from from technical people. You can have some formal language which is adopted for formal verification, but at the same time, you can do formal verification of important contracts on a Turing complete, on general purpose blockchain, what actually Freeton is doing. So we do formal verification for all key contracts. And nothing can be compared to an energy of developers, of thousands and then millions of developers who should be easy write something very some use case. So specializing, making blockchain limited in terms of smart contract platform, again, we believe that this will not survive in future competition. So another extremely important parameter is latency, and this vision comes from a very simple thought. Users at the moment, when you would like to have billions of users, they are used to use centralized applications which based on centralized systems, and they will not wait half a minute, even half a minute for something to happen. So they expect, like when they refresh their Facebook page, they expect to have like 1-2 seconds maximum to get the result. So any platform which will not be able to deliver such property, again, will not be a platform for the decentralized internet, and it will not be a platform for mass adoption. So, of course, when you talk latency in a decentralized platform, this is a very tricky thing, because in the decentralized platform, there's a concept of finality, and finality to some extent is probabilistic. So, for example, Solana is a good example. They saying that they claim that transactions are accepted in 0.4 second, but in reality they have some competing chains. So if you talk about finality, final finality, then of course it is more. But for when you say what is the probability of that accepted transaction not to be included and be rejected on the later stage, then it is very, very small, and from practical point of view it could be ignored. Or if you do like $1 transaction, you can ignore it. If you do $1 million transaction, then you can wait like 5 more seconds. So latency is an extremely important parameter, but I don't want to go into a lot of technical details on that. So decentralized DNA, it's exactly what I said about our vision, that only public blockchains will survive because they will bring the most value for community, for applications, because of composability. It's a good word, composability of use cases inside one chain. Actually, one platform, it's better to say, one platform. And of course, it should be very easy for developers to use. Usability for developers, it's a very, very big topic to discuss. Don't want to go into many details. What we do for that. So first of all, we have a number of compilers. One compiler made from Solidity, despite the fact that virtual machine in Ton is a specialized one. It is not EVM, it is not WASM. It was designed through quite intensive research by Nikolai Durov, because he was thinking about what virtual machine should be optimal for blockchain, and this is the most optimal virtual machine for blockchain itself. But again, let's not go to such details. So despite that it's a unique virtual machine, we have Solidity, we have C, C++ languages for smart contracts. On top of that, the whole infrastructure was built, and I think Friton now has the most advanced infrastructure among all blockchain ecosystems. It is called Ton operating system, and this one from day one of Ton development was designed and was developed by Ton Labs. That's how actually we started our involvement in Ton project. So they at the end, of course, all blockchain data is parsed, and we have GraphQL interface at the end. We have SDK bindings to languages. So this part is extremely important. So when we look at the current leading group, and I can explain why we think that a part of Friton, those projects are the most important now. First of all, Solana, and I will end with Ethereum to zero. So Solana actually now at the moment it is they claim to be the fastest blockchain in the world. Actually, Friton is faster, but the reason for that Solana has very unique design. Actually, it is different from anything else. But they have only one chain. So this is like the maximum you can do on one chain. Friton is the only blockchain which is sharded and it is multi-threaded. So in that respect, that architecture actually can be scalable, ultimately scalable. So there are a lot of implementation problems. Telegram, when they created their node, they did, from our standpoint, it was MVP because they did it in a bit monolithic way, because they're doing like Olympic code, people which do something quickly working, but without tests, without modules. So Ton Labs made that approach and rewrote that node in an industrial way. So it was done in modules. It was 100% covered by tests. So we believe that we have significantly higher throughput than Solana has, just because of the fact that we have multi-shards execution. But result will announce probably in a couple of weeks, because we have now contest on 400 validators around the globe, which and we do tests for our new node. But the problem is for Solana that they have a very special virtual machine, because founders of Solana, they were from router industry, so from Cisco, and they took a very special virtual machine, and it is not very convenient to do development for Solana. So for us, we think that this is one of the problems for them to get adoption, but still it is one of the strongest projects we see on the market now. So NEAR protocol, it is very interesting because they also have sharding as we are, but they are a bit now in development still, and they are in tests. So and they do not have multi-threading. So they do sharded data, but they do not multi-thread. And from our standpoint, this is the only key for high throughput because processing power is more limited in terms of compare even to benefits. So when you execute smart contracts in parallel in different process shards, then you can, of course, can process much more than if you do it in one shard. Polkadot, actually, despite we put it here because it is very famous, Gavin Wood behind it, but in reality, we don't think that this is a winning solution. And there is a very simple reason for that. There is a lot of marketing discussion about speed of different blockchains, which are not, when you do tests, they are not proved to be real. For example, parachains in Polka, if its current test gives something like 100 TPS, we talk about substrate chains, and this is quite low. Of course, Polka say, well, we have relay chain, and there's a number of chains, but the problem is that that architecture, that's exactly a dispute we have with Mark many times, that architecture has one inherited problem. So, for example, the different chains, if they're held by different teams, they are actually centralized. So if you have specialized chains, then each chain is in reality is centralized project, and it is controlled by some company or some team which is doing some special use case. Then, of course, when you try to calculate timing, what latency you have for connection between one chain and another chain, then you have another problem. And then, of course, you will have at current implementation, probably Polka will do something going forward, but the current implementation, we don't think that Polka will be able to solve and to host any large-scale application. Like for
hey Pavel.
Yeah.
Oh,
yes.
Hey, I'm just looking at the time, 11:53. Tell us about Cosmos, and then if you could try to wrap up soon, because I need to give enough time for Toad and Nick to share this. And then
sure. Yeah, Cosmos, very quickly, they're actually not aiming latency, they're not aiming throughput, so we don't see any potential at the moment, and what they're doing, it's not clear. So what I'd like to say, if you look at this picture, so we see that the sterilized system, they grow in performance, and at some point, with Friton operating system on top, we are getting closer to centralized IT. So there was a question from Mark that Friton is not good for running like social network. I can say that at the moment we believe that we can run a bunch of Twitters easily on Friton. I mean, with the same parameters and feel and look UI UX as existing Twitter users have. So again, our vision is that for all social networks, all important applications, some governance applications, they will go into public chains, public decentralized platforms, and again, not blockchains, but platforms, because all other services which are required for a global application, like storage, database, they should be also in layer 1 of such a platform, because all solutions which called layers 2, etc., they are literally significantly reduce decentralization to an unacceptable point. From our standpoint, so we think that what we are doing now, we are building the real platform for decentralized internet.
Awesome.
So the rest, so the rest is not probably that interesting. I mean, the part of this one. So we never had any ICO. We never sold any tokens. It was pure meritocratic token distribution. So all distributed through contests. So no grants. That is very interesting. Point.
Yeah. Listen, I want to cover this, and specifically, I want to talk about some of the contests that you had recently with GBA and voting. But let's hold off on that until I give everybody else a chance to at least kind of talk through their blockchain. Do you want to go through this one really quick?
Oh yeah, this is a picture where it's shown the Tone operating system, what is comprised from, and there is a Telegram which wrote first implementation of the node. Another incredibly important thing, we don't have picture here, but let me explain. There's a Web 3.0 vision, which actually brings to user some code to front end of a user, brings some code from a web server. And this, we think, is the wrong way of development. We think that the only way for the decentralized platform, when you upload all what you need to render a user application from blockchain itself. So we already released the technology. It's called dbots. So the idea is that you have only front-end application, which called browser, and it can render any, say, DApp page, which is on blockchain. So there are no web stack at all. It is a browser. We call it browser because it is a browser from that point of view, but it has nothing to do with web technology. And we think this is the only way forward. And that's why actually the whole stack from blockchain to user, we call operating system, because it's a very, very good analogy for that.
Excellent. All right. So can I wrap it up and toss it over to
Sure.
I love what you guys have done, but you guys can ask technical questions when we do the Q&A, and then if you want to, we can also set up another call. Pavel, go ahead and all your free time folks, go ahead and put your contact information in the chat so that if people have additional questions or want to talk to you, they can. So I want to now move over to Toad Fernandez of DAOmaker. So Toad, I think there you are. Now, Nick, I have somebody on the line. That's Nicholas. I don't know if that's Nicholas or Nick from the NEM group, but Nicholas, if you are Nick Pelikanos, if you don't mind just changing your name so I can make sure that you're spotlighted. But Toad, by all means, tell us a little bit about how DAOmaker is different from some of the early generation blockchains, and tell us a little bit about it.
Hi guys, a pleasure to be here. So yes, DAOmaker in a nutshell provides multiple services from marketing, social mining to fundraising. Social mining was designed to create communities that eventually self-organize and expand, create advancements and increase token utility as a new platform, a new generation platform. The solutions offer venture funding in tier risk levels, reducing the risk of venture funding for retail investors that other platforms they haven't done. DAOmaker is a fiat-enabled compliant platform for the venture funding for both crowd equity and tokens. And this platform includes the dynamic coin offerings, which are cap risk investments while maintaining the upside potential. There are strongholder offerings. I don't know if you know them, they are quite famous nowadays for the sales. That these are public sales, those offerings, that has successfully closed a private round before. A very interesting feature that we have in our platform that other platforms they don't have is the tool bridge. Is where private investors of tokenized projects can claim their vested tokens in advance, penalty fee, burning some part of these tokens forever. In the near future, the platform will also include the venture bonds that are almost risk-free investments for risk-aware investors, and also standard offerings for equity issuance without any protections for the investors with a maximum risk appetite. In terms of blockchains, we are blockchain agnostic, but right now our core tech is on Ethereum. So, but we're happy to implement other blockchains because we can adapt to these ones.
Awesome. And then, so you guys are related to the NEM group. So Nicholas has joined us. Nick, you want to share with us anything about NEM in terms of why it's why it might be different than first or second generation blockchains?
Hey, so yeah, hi everyone. My name's Nick. I'm head of trading for the NEM protocol. So I manage a portfolio of assets and deal with like liquidity for the XEM token and now the XYM token. So we've just released a new blockchain as of 2 a.m. this morning. A bit of history on sort of the NEM ecosystem. We are actually one of the first sort of second generation blockchains, if you kind of think about it in the sense of Bitcoin being like, and those payments protocols being sort of first generation, then second generation being like the advent of smart contracts. NEM is actually older than Ethereum by a couple of months, has similar functionalities. No downtime, no hacks since 2015. We have like one of the largest communities globally, strong base in Asia, particularly Japan. And then, hover around that top 10 in the market cap. So yeah, I mean, that's a bit of a background on NEM. I actually do have a slide deck for Symbol, but I mean, I see we've kind of dragged on a little bit. So, rather than getting heavily into what it does and everything, particularly because I can tell we have some technical people on here. Like I started, I'm a trader type. So, a lot of those technical questions would probably go over my head, but, at a high level, essentially what's going on with Symbol, which is our new chain that, like I said, came live at 2 a.m. this morning. That's essentially like it takes all of the learnings from the NIS1 chain with the token XEM and builds up from a completely new code base. So, our core devs sort of been, have been sort of building this core since about 2017. So you've got like more or less 4 years of development going on there, just slowly observing and picking up sort of the pain points in the market. So, I mean, at a high level, we build in like really, like, I think sort of anyone who sort of knew NIS1, the old chain, would understand that it was quite famous for having plug and play functionality. So most people would just go in there and build an application quite easily. So the Symbol blockchain builds on top of that. It has security features built in on the base layer. So things like aggregate transactions, hierarchical multi-sig, encrypted messaging. And then, there's a large focus on interoperability and atomic swaps. So our engine for atomic swaps is, I think it's actually the best out there. I think if you sort of look around the space right now, there's a large focus on sorry. Just got a trading notification. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so there's a large focus on sort of interoperability and moving things around different chains. We can see this in DeFi. A lot of applications are starting to want to bridge either onto or off Ethereum. I think, whoever was talking at the start mentioned the high gas fees. As a trader, my gas fees have turned into something like if you sum them up, it would look like a substantial portfolio. Just from having to use that DeFi space. So if you can take some of the functionalities of your application off, say, the Ethereum chain, and then run the back end on a different chain, something like Symbol, that makes a lot of sense to the overall profitability of the operation, and also the user base that you'll attract. For instance, I want to go and say, we just had Tote Fernandez saying, from DAOmaker there, I went to go and buy DAOmaker. I went to go and buy the DAO token on Uniswap when it listed, and the fees were going to be too high. So I went to Gate. So it's sort of the fees are subduing the volumes coming through Uniswap. But yeah, I digress to go back and sort of keep hashing over what Symbol does. you know, there's through, I mean, first off, I think of decentralization as more of a spectrum. You know, if you want something completely decentralized, you know, you can go to the Bitcoin blockchain and then the Ethereum blockchain. But both of those chains have something in common where you end up having, like, you know, to pay for the privilege of that decentralized feature set. So essentially, you know, what we're trying to do is sort of build into Symbol hybrid chain functionalities. And what that means is, you know, you can run a lot of your operation on sort of like a side chain, or if you're like a institutional, like an institution that wants to have some of their like transactions on a public ledger, but then also have that communicating to an internal ledger, you could use that hybrid functionality. In terms of throughput, in testnet, we were running at 400 transactions a second. The mainnet can handle 100 transactions per second. And, you know, just to give you an idea of what these transactions look like on the like Bitcoin blockchain, a transaction is sending an amount from one address to another. On the Symbol blockchain, like you can because of sort of the aggregate transactions and the sort of built-in messaging and like multi-sig, these transactions can end up looking like an A4 page worth of data going through the chain. And again, you know, we can handle like 100 transactions per second on that stuff. So, I mean, there's just like a hash over some of the feature sets at a high level.
Yeah, that's awesome. Toad and Nicholas, do me a favor, put your contact information in the chat. And then in the question and answer period, one of the things a question I want to ask is, what made you decide to build off of Ethereum, right? Is it necessarily true, you know, that while we talk about 2, 3, 4, 5th generation blockchains, that is it always true necessary that we have to go to the bleeding edge, or does it sometimes make sense to build off Ethereum, right?
Yeah,
So
I mean, sure. So
let me throw this over to Paul, but I want to hit that question on the question, and I want to give folks at least half an hour to be able to, you know, to engage with you guys directly. But Paul, you want to share with us a little bit about L4S and the blockchain that you guys have?
Sure. No, I appreciate the opportunity to do so. We have a platform which we call Tapestry X, and it uses blockchain concepts, but it's a truly distributed ledger that we're building for real-time, as we call them, digital ecosystems. It sounds counterintuitive, but we've created a structure and mechanism so it's a self-synchronizing network, and we get consistency and completeness without the need of consensus, which means we're concerned with creating transactions and validating transactions alone. So it's linearly scalable. We effectively can create real-time settlement, and we've got a capacity throughput of over 100,000 transactions per second. But beyond the recording of the transactions, we're actually providing gap compliant double entry accounting on the back end. So we're not only synchronizing through the blockchain technology, we're synchronizing through accounting, and we reconcile, we run trial balances and balance monitor the entire network on an event-driven basis. So again, the point was to make the users only have to load their transactions and read their accounting and do it in a sort of real-time basis. And we also have a concept of interfacing with legacy markets, so we can peacefully coexist with legacy markets. And where we are right now is we've had a capabilities demo and we're building our sandbox, and we're moving from sandbox to production development with what are going to be targeted clients. Our original background was from capital markets. So, you know, there's 9 million trades a day on the New York Stock Exchange. You know, the DTCC is on average processing 3,500 transactions a second. And I worked with a floor broker at one point in my career where we dealt with high frequency and algo execution. So those were our sort of driving guidelines. If I can share the screen just quickly, don't want to take up too much time. I thought I'd bring up this slide. If you look at the financial services industry, and we have interest from supply chain and ERP, But when you're looking at distributed ledger transactional industry needs, you've got the basics in terms of the immutability, append-only, decentralized identity security, decentralized roles, which lead to requirements that most solutions can handle or have. But once you get into risk and you've got to have high capacity, low latency, you need to be processing in parallel, which we managed to do, and you need to have near real-time settlement with intraday financing. That's a requirement for a market to work in real time. You have to be able to finance. Well, most of the blockchains are doing fully paid for long transfers, but most of the world runs on borrowed money, borrowed securities, and with future dated transactions. So we can actually post a future dated payable, receivable, and do full balance sheet and income statement reporting. Also, we can do fractional reserve accounting, which is how the monetary system works. And we can archive our transacting periods so we don't have the memory scalability issues that many blockchains are hampered with. And as I said earlier, we're linearly scalable because we've obviated consensus. From regulatory compliance, we can create all the reporting that's required on a node and even provide regulators as a listening node in our network. So we've got we've accounted for that. And again, benefit of being, as with all blockchains, if you're working with distributed code, once you create the compliance report, everyone gets it. It's a sort of one and done. And then we can, as I said, we have an interface so we can work with the current markets. So if people want to trade in and out of our networks or have network to network transfers, we can do those. But we can also take in, we've got a means to take in historical records. And we don't have smart contracts. We have deterministic algorithms and scripts, which are interesting. I think it was Vitalik Buterin said he'd wish he'd called it a persistent script rather than a smart contract. But so we can take individual transactions or we can trade life cycle scripts. We can create them with our clients. So again, we're moving from sandbox development to production, hopefully, and launching later in the year.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I want to turn back over to Mark. And Mark, one thing that we haven't talked about much is blockchains and privacy coins, right? So Mark, I just wonder if you have any sort of comments on everything that we've heard so far, and also I'm just kind of curious what your thoughts are on privacy coins. And then anybody who'd like to ask a question of any of the panelists, I'm just going to ask if you raise your hand, we'll recognize you. If you're on a phone and don't have the capacity, if you've called in, then just go ahead and interrupt when there's a pause. But Mark, your sort of summary thoughts on everything we've heard so far today, and any thoughts that you might have on privacy coins.
Sure. So my first and most important thought is all of you who were advertising your blockchains who aren't yet connected to the GBBP, when are you going to get connected? Please contact me as soon as possible. Regarding privacy coins, it's possible to implement privacy coins on virtually any blockchain, but my thought is that I suspect that governments are going to start outlawing privacy coins. Cryptocurrency makes sense. It's going to continue. There's no way to avoid it, but the requirements and market for for privacy coins is small enough that I think that governments will be able to stamp it out, particularly since there doesn't seem to be any reason for using them short of the unlawful, tax evasion, fraud, things of that sort.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just heard rumors just the other day about India is thinking about banning Bitcoin, right? All right. So if anybody has any questions, please ask. If you don't, and by the way, Mark, somebody's asked for your email, so I'm going to put it in the chat real quick so that people can reach out to you. So let me go back to Ton. Can you guys talk to us a little bit about, you guys have a methodology to do innovation, right? So to build out stuff. That's a sort of a business model or a blockchain model that is that I think is relatively new. And then also Dr. Ingrid Veselou-Feltes is with us on the line. She is a chief ethics officer, and we're in the transition ethics and what's the other word? Not
Code of
innovation.
conduct.
Well, no, innovation, right? So, what Ingrid, if you'd like to share anything after the Tom guys answer, if you'd like to share anything about ways that GBA is trying to essentially help people innovate blockchains and maybe some of the capital and funding available for the innovation in blockchain. But let me throw it over to the Tom guys first. Tell us a little bit about how you guys do innovation and mature and develop new capabilities and all that.
Yes. So Triton actually the only, as far as I know, fair launch in POS, proof of stake blockchain. What is important about any POS compared to proof of work blockchain, that the value of token, the value in blockchain, capitalization of blockchain is actually the only protection of a decentralized system from DDoS, from takeover of the network. So you literally cannot have a sustainable POS decentralized platform which has no value inside. So, and like all other projects, they started by selling tokens, and we did not. So that was the question. Okay, how you can bring value into such a platform when you never took any money, when you never had any price of your token? And so we did very simple answer. We distributed tokens through a merit, which in our case means that we distributed either through contests or through partnerships. So, and we have quite a large number of tokens, by the way, to distribute, and it represents huge amount of value. It's actually billions of dollars at current valuation. So, what does it mean? It is community. We call ourselves as a community-driven blockchain. No VCs, no investors. Everyone can come and propose a contest. Everyone can come and participate in any contest. You don't need to know somebody. You just can go see existing contests. There are actually 16, I think, at the moment going on right now, and make your submission and get your tokens. If like you win. So then, of course,
you guys did one for GBA in the voting domain.
Yes. I'm coming there. So
okay.
And the question is that, of course, this is a huge amount of value, and of course, even if you try to spend it only on development, then first of all, it's not possible. So it means that we also support the decentralized platforms development in the world in general. So we think that our mission is to promote the adoption again of the decentralized platform in general. So when there are some situations which we faced with which GBA showed us, actually there were two cases. One where in Guatemala there were some election fraud, and community and people of Guatemala, they tried to do and compare voting results and calculate voting results bottom up and compare with official ones. They tried to do it, but it was a bit complex process. And we saw, okay, it's a great use case. So we said, okay, first of all, we asked community and ran a contest to propose solution, how you can do in this trust way, verify and do election audit. That contest passed. We got a number of solutions. It was like, I don't know, 40 something. After that, there was, based on winning solution, there was an implementation contest initiated, and it was already started. So the idea is that like millions of people can upload results, can upload data from voting centers, photos. They act as collators in that respect, and then other people can act as validators. So idea that you, in this last way, can recalculate result of an election in the country, and this is important not only for Guatemala; it's important for Latin America in general, because there are a number of countries which have the same problems. That contest already started, so we expect in 2.5 months. We actually consciously made quite a long period for that, because first of all, it's quite complex design, which again based on unique architecture of Tone, where so you can do it not in one or several bulk smart contracts, which actually doesn't work, because if you have like 10,000 messages to one smart contract, it will stall, or latency will be huge. And we have an architecture where one use case can be represented by millions or tens of or hundreds of millions smart contracts, and it will be the same system. So it's quite complex in that respect. And also we expect that we expect to get as many solutions as possible, so different teams can come. So that's why we decided in community to have quite significant time for this implementation contest.
Awesome. That's a,
Yeah,
and let me try to just in terms of summary, because I got to get to a couple other folks. You know, what's really great about your community is anybody can come with an idea. They can propose it. If that idea has merit, it's literally voted and funded. And the last time I looked, your token was at around $1. And how much did you give out in rewards for the voting? Just the first phase, that first part.
Yeah, token a bit volatile in that respect. So now it's about 70 cents. But I think the total contest rewards were like $100,000 or something like that.
Yeah. So let me just wrap it. So again, if you've got an idea and you're not connected to a blockchain, right? Then talking to the folks at Freetown community might be a way for you to get your proposal funded, and then engaging with their community. I want to go to back to Nick and Tote. Talk to us a little bit about why, if you were there then or whatever, if you can talk to, why did you pick Ethereum to go after? And you know, when there's a lot of solutions, so I'm sure you guys clearly did some kind of evaluation. And then there's a couple other folks on the call. So Ingrid is going to talk about how we can fund innovation. Dr. Sindhu Bhaskar has got blockchain solutions all around the world, primarily the banking and financing space. And David has done some really amazing things with blockchain and securing information. So Toad or Nicholas, you want to why did you pick Ethereum? What was sort of your evaluation process?
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. Maybe it wasn't clear. Where like the NIS1 blockchain is older than Ethereum. It is its own protocol. It's its own blockchain. SIMBA, which is our new blockchain, is its own blockchain. It's its own mainnet. It's its own protocol. So we're not building on ETH. I guess you could say we're an ETH competitor. I mean, I don't really view the market as a sort of you know, there's going to be one blockchain to rule them all. I think there'll be like a stack of different protocols doing different things, much like the internet works today. You know, if you just look at your browser, you'll notice that you're sometimes using HTML, HTTP changes a lot, depending what functionality you want to do. So I imagine as we sort of build Web3, it'll end up looking like that. So yeah, I mean, to answer your question, we're not on ETH.
Okay, good. And then and you talked. Or do you guys have any concerns about sort of scalability issues with your blockchain, and what are your thoughts or plans with regard to that?
Yeah, so like I said earlier on, in terms of scalability, without giving up decentralization, we're currently running at 100 transactions per second, and that's on a mainnet, which is live now that anyone can use. In terms of bringing it up faster than that, you know, like I mentioned, SIMBA has sort of hybrid functionalities built in at the base layer. So it's very easy for someone to spin up a side chain and run sort of some of the functionalities off that and then relay it back to the main chain. So in terms of scalability, I mean, you know, a lot of this stuff's theoretical. You can test it on test nets. But I mean, we will see now, like I said, that SIMBA mainnet went up at 2 a.m. this morning. The token was just listed a couple of hours ago, and it's up what 700%. So it's like it's early days for SIMBA,
Yeah.
but the NIS1 blockchain and NEM, like I said, is one of the oldest, largest blockchain protocols. No downtime, no hacks, which I mean, not even Ethereum can claim to have.
So there's really some advantages to having protocols that are older and not, you know, not cutting edge, because if you look at Bitcoin or you know what you just talked about, those older protocols tend to be much more stable. So that's awesome. Ingrid, do you want to share with us a little bit about how GBA is funding innovation?
Sure, thank you. What we're aiming to do is to function like an innovation incubator and accelerator, and to provide not only knowledge about alternate funding methods, but also provide access to a variety of funding methods. And that includes angel, venture, or private-public partnerships or grants. So the whole spectrum. And what we're aiming to do is organize regular sessions so that we can guide all startups that we have that are interested in the appropriate methods that fit their business model, and then also help them along the continuum if they're ready to scale with funding methods that would be appropriate for that next stage. So stay tuned, because we'll have some more information forthcoming, but as a general message, it would be a dual aim, not only innovation and acceleration, but also to bring angel investors and venture funds to have access to all the beautiful opportunities we have, and the other way around, to provide our teams and our members access to a global funding.
Do you want to share with them your role with WBAF and how you've brought those two groups together and where that potentially will take us?
Sure. So the World Business Angel Investment Forum is a G20 affiliate member. They're in 127 countries, and their main goal is to provide small and medium businesses, and of course startups and scale-ups that wish to receive assistance with financial of course, methods and alternative methods. So our main goal is to synchronize and harmonize the activities, because we have a tremendous overlap at an international level, not only country, but also in terms of similar mission, vision, and our goal is for this year, it was a little tougher with the pandemic, but our goal for this year is to increase the activities where we bring angel investment funding and venture funding closer to our GBA members.
Excellent, super duper. Dr. Sindhu Bhaskar, do you want to share a little bit about your blockchain ecosystem and how you're using the technology globally?
Well, hello everyone. In our blockchain ecosystem, we are focusing more on social development and how financial entities and system can be really geared towards financial inclusion and overall development. So that's why we call it a composite banking model. So it is fully integrated to all the different layers of society and interacting with all the other layers to create a very development focused entity. So the first experimentation, or say the experimental institution, which we call BranchX banking, that is getting launched in India next month. The final asset audit is going on by PwC. So there it is, even though we call it neobank, but it has full stack of banking. And we are providing not only Kasha facilities to those unbanked people, but also money transfer facility, microcredit facility, as well as investment opportunities, along with cards and the marketplace, which we have connected it to Amazon as well. So we are not only providing the marketplace, but also the Amazon point of sales and point of say uh, service is also acting as our point of service. It is just to cut our cost and make it more remunerative for us. So that is how we have, and all this activity, we are putting it on blockchain so that everything is properly recorded and to full transparency, and we get rid of intermediaries. But at the same time, we have provided a social face to our digital enterprise by having this some people who are we call agents for the services, which are basically village volunteers and helpers who are trying to educate them in digital functioning. So we call them agents. That is the agent network, which is for assistance, not as intermediary. So that's a new concept, and after the launch in India, we'll be launching in other parts of world. We have already tied up with EcoBank in Africa and All Africa Union for foreign trade, as well as in Latin America, in Peru, Uruguay, Argentina, and Mexico. So I
Yeah,
think
and
we need all the support and blessing and good wishes from all of you to make it a success, so that
yeah,
really we can present an example of uh, composite development.
it's amazing to me that the network of the community, and I'm excited as we can connect all of these different blockchains to the GBBP. So we've got Burst IQ out of Colorado. They've got a HIPAA compliant blockchain. You know what Dr. Sindhu Bhaskar is doing with creating blockchains that fully integrate with banking systems is incredible. We've got the NEM and Downmaker folks that have really connected into the investment platforms. You know, L4S with the accounting stuff. It's just we're really incredibly fortunate and blessed to have this kind of community. And as we connect them together through the GBBP, they can essentially use each other's services. So what it does is it magnifies their capabilities, right? And David, we'd love to get a little bit more. SIMBA Chain's been a GBA member for a couple of years, but I'd love to kind of get you guys a little bit more involved with what we're doing, because once we build these solutions out once we can connect people's solutions on the GBBP, we can then go out to our chapters all over the world and have those chapters essentially market the products and services to government entities, right? That all of our members are selling. So we're actually creating a giant government services marketplace through interconnected operatability. So it's just really exciting. Does anybody have any questions for the panelists? I want to get to David. David, you want to tell them a little bit about how? Tell us a little bit about the blockchain that you're using, why you selected it, and then how you're using your technology to ensure the integrity of news and information.
Thanks, Gerard. Hi, everyone. I'm David Benjamin out of Oakland, California. I have a company called Bridget.io, and we are in the process of starting a Swiss foundation, us and some other partners, to essentially create a blockchain project focused on the big missing feature of the internet. According to Mark Andreessen in 2012, he said that there's a big missing feature of the web browser, that is annotation, the ability to layer knowledge on top of web pages. And we're building our blockchain on top of Cosmos. And I'm not the full-on expert, but I weighed in on the decision in terms of which way to go. And we decided to go with Cosmos because of the interoperability that they're going to be providing through the inter-blockchain communication protocol that I believe has either been implemented in the last 7 or 8 days or will be in the next couple of days, as well as they've got Ethermint as well. So yeah, there's a lot of ways that we can connect up to the Cosmos, to other blockchains, and they run the Ethereum virtual machine. You can write your contracts as well in JavaScript, and they can run in a WebAssembly virtual machine as well. So that's our favorable for us. We'd rather write things in JavaScript. And then the other aspect, we're pretty happy with how easy it is to spin up a blockchain on Cosmos. They just recently did Starport, and it can take minutes. Obviously, there's a lot in terms of configuring, which means it takes a month or more, but to get everything right and get everything in place. But to actually start the blockchain is super quick. I guess the other consideration was security. We're appreciative of their security first stance, and we feel it's really important, security, privacy, etc. So we're excited to build on Cosmos and see where it goes. We're DevNet now, transitioning to testnet towards the end of the month, looking to go production net in November.
And the primary purpose of your blockchain is really to restore integrity to news and information, right? By being able to connect claims back to source data. And we just want to just mention a little, and this is what I think is so awesome about these new blockchains that are coming out. People have ideas, they're passionate about something. The technology that exists may not be the right thing for them, so they package, reconfigure to be able to hit that goal. David, you mentioned briefly, you just want to tell them just a little about your passion there?
Yeah, so about 7 years ago, I was observing that the internet was getting so fractioned and fragmented. You had information in silos. People weren't wanting to use links, or at least commercial sites weren't wanting to use links because they wanted to keep you on the site, serve more ads, extract more data. Then people were in filter bubbles, people were in search bubbles. So you've got this about as fragmented and sparsely connected web as we can imagine. It's nothing like what we thought it was going to be when it started. And there's a problem in there. And that is, when things are sparsely connected and everything is fragmented, it's really hard to know what's real and what's not, because there's no context for anything. You look at a piece of text, there's not usually links going out to other sources. Back when the web started, it was all about links, and now it's more about feeds. So we decided that we wanted to take the approach of bringing connectedness back to the internet, and we're doing this in a trust layer on top of the web. So it's a meta layer. It's in the annotation layer, so to speak, and we enable people to create bridges. Bridges connect are conceptual links that connect a piece of information on one page to a piece of information on another page. So you can imagine a contradictory bridge from a sentence in a news article to a segment of a podcast, where the person in the podcast is saying something that directly contradicts what was written in the news article. And so this is actually turning out to be our first use case, where we're going to be piloting this technology for the first post-Brexit UK elections. And there was a report done about a couple of years ago. I guess it was at the beginning of 2020, so a year ago. But it had Facebook plus an all parliamentary party group of the UK on election transparency, plus a number of other democracy first organizations. And they came to the conclusion that the UK
David,
need to have non-governmental. We're partnering with to bring that. Did you
Wow.
all get that?
Yeah, you broke up a little bit at the end, but I think everybody got your point. You know, I think about how many arguments are had because two people are just hearing two different clips of the same person speaking, right? And so I really support and endorse everything you're doing. All right, I'm going to show just a quick little video clip endorsing our event for September. Then I want to give the panelists an opportunity to make any kind of closing remarks. And then Jovan, I'll let you finish it up when we wrap. But anyway, let me share my screen. There we go. So we do have a big event coming up September 27th.
The GBA is putting on Government Blockchain Week.
Government Blockchain Week. We're going to be meeting in Washington. We'll have government leaders from around the world, from every aspect of government, and we'll be culminating at the United States Capitol,
which will be Monday through Friday. Each day is going to have a different theme. One day is cryptocurrency and cybersecurity. One day is international trade.
We'll have Don Tapscott. Don Tapscott wrote the very first book on enterprise blockchain, Scott Strunetta. He and his research partner actually invented the first blockchain. We got a great community.
There are just a lot of different pockets of interesting things going on, like a FinTech Roundtable, which is by invitation only. There's also going to be a pitch competition for economic growth. There's going to be the Annual Achievement Awards.
We're going to have government leaders from literally all over the world to Washington, D.C. and talk about blockchain. So I hope you guys, if you're interested, go to gbaglobal.org. On the homepage, you should see these links right here, and it can take you right to the page, and then tickets are here. I would recommend you get your tickets, and you can see the speakers that we have: Alabama Securities Commission, right? Kazakhstan, Australian Trade Commission, Austrian Institute for Technology, all the way down to different states. We've got Croatia, we've got Dash folks coming, and then a bunch of folks from just all around the world. Italy, National Securities and Stock Commission for Ukraine. We got the London Stock Exchange, United Kingdom, United Nations, number of U.S. folks. So it's going to be a phenomenal event. And if you're interested in sponsoring, there's a sponsorship brochure. It's at the bottom of the schedule, and then you can see we're going to have events literally all in and around D.C. British Embassy, the Embassy of Bahrain. We're going to have one of our receptions will be on the rooftop of the International Spy Museum. So it's just going to be a phenomenal week. So I would encourage everyone to come out if you can. All right. So with that, Ryan and David, you guys want to make any sort of parting comments or thoughts? We covered a lot of ground today.
Yeah, I'm happy to make a comment. I hope everybody can hear me. I feel in any new industry, and we're still kind of the OK corral here, right? Is education and coming together around these protocols is paramount to our success and scale. I know we have major problems to fix, but I really appreciate what GBA has done to bring all these people together in the working groups. It's just getting more people into the fold, more developers into the pool of developers for each of these platforms. So if there are platforms that you guys are working on that you would like us to promote through college universities to help scale the development pool there and the applications there, please contact me, because for the students, we have the core platforms, but we want them to get exposure to third and fourth generation platforms. So and nice thing is SIMBA chain is working with that on the back end of their interface. So we want to be where the developers are and just support any growing community. So if there is something you want to see in terms of education content out there to help you guys, please reach out to me. David?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just echo that. So first, GBA, great job with this and other education, but we support a lot of different blockchain platforms. We try to be mainstream, but we're all about adoption, making it easier to access blockchain. But I really think it all starts with education. I mean, we serve Department of Defense, Department of Energy. We serve businesses like Dow and Caterpillar and Boeing, but we really we're making a big investment in education because I think it all starts with education. And that's where GBA is really doing well. So that's all I have.
Awesome. And then David, I also suggest that you and David, or I think Anjan and David talk, because you guys are doing a lot in the information integration space.
Right. Absolutely.
Cool. All right. Well, listen, we heard a lot from Pavel, and I know one guy that Eugene. I'm impressed that you didn't say anything. You always have a lot of high quality things to say. Do you or Pavel want to say anything about Ton before we wrap up?
Yes, and Gerard, thank you so much. Yes, I've been quiet, but I think Pavel covered really the critical points. I also shared certain links in this chat and asking everyone to please take a look, including the presentation in whole as Pavel was using tonight. As far as what's happening on Freeton, well, in brief, a lot. There are numerous idea crowdsourcing contests going on right now, and everybody is welcome to go check them out, suggest other contests or participate in the ones that are going on. But I'm very excited to also say that, for example, our MIT Harvard contest, which called for disproving a certain MIT paper criticizing the use of blockchain in voting, has actually led to an incredible discussion as part of GBA blockchain and voting series, which again, I encourage everyone to attend. Incredible events. Gerard, thank you.
Thank you. And I'm putting a link to the GBA YouTube channel in the chat. If you're not already subscribed to it, please subscribe to it. This call will be captured there. But the last one that we did on the digital ballot debate, which is all about blockchain and voting, it was phenomenal. And if you remember the Star Wars episode 4, where Luke blew up the Death Star, that's kind of the ending that one has. So it was, Eugene, would you agree with that?
Gerard, we like everything you do on GBA. Truly,
you're very diplomatic. Sounds good. All right. Well, let's see. How about Toad and Nick? You want to share any sort of final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I might as well say something. You know, I think sort of the space is still sort of like it's a very young space. You know, I'm not sure when everyone entered into the space. Me personally was 2015, and I've seen these different adoption cycles sort of come through and seen people make sort of repeated mistakes. You know, one thing I would say sort of about where we are now in the adoption cycle, and I think it's always important to sort of pin yourself to where we are in the adoption cycle so you understand what technology is needed and what pain points need to be fixed. But I think we're sort of right on the cusp of seeing the early majority enter. And if you don't sort of, I'm sure like you've all seen the innovation adoption curve. If you haven't, you can just quickly Google it and you'll see what I'm talking about. What that means is we're going to have sort of a lot of, I mean, and we're seeing a lot of larger enterprise sort of move into the space. But it's like what, at what functionality? Like I'm sure a lot of people sort of thought like, oh, well, it's a no-brainer that you would have like people doing supply chain, right? Or like, oh, we'll have some banking thing. But I mean, really like look at the adoption. It's been in DeFi and NFTs, and I don't think a lot of people really thought about this. So I think one thing that I'd say to everyone is decouple yourself from your traditional thinking as you enter the space, because the solutions that a lot of people think they're building aren't going to be the solutions that are going to be used in the future.
Excellent. Thanks. I know Mark wants to say something. Toad, did you want to say something before I turn it over to Mark?
Yes, sure. I said that this is a fast, ever-changing space. In the future, we will see more blockchains bringing new solutions to the space. But I would like to see that most of them, they are decentralized, because if the solutions are centralized, will make the purpose of the blockchain. That's my final remark.
Okay, excellent. Mark, you have some parting thoughts, and then we'll turn it over to Jovan, who always does a great job of encouraging people to join GBA.
Sure, absolutely. So my enduring frustration with the blockchain community is that we don't play well together. I think that there are a lot of great solutions out there, but one size really doesn't fit all. A lot of the time we send out different messages. We don't help to educate about the differences between platforms in terms of pros and cons, and the fact that each of us do some things very, very well, and others do different things very, very well. And this is what we're trying to solve with the GBBP. We want to get everyone together. We want everyone to do what they do best and not waste their time with what they don't do well. We really, really want to convene as many people as possible and help make money for everyone. Everyone's got a valuable service, and it's a lot easier to all join together, take advantages of economies of scale, and also put out one clear, coherent message. A lot of the time, what we're telling the general public are very technically complex arguments that, quite frankly, they just don't care about. And worse, they're intimidating. So it would be great if we could all work together, give a good simplified message that explains that it's actually good that we have all this diversity, and see what socially beneficial projects that we can all create, because that's one thing that I'd really like to advertise about the GBA itself, is that we are creating programs that will benefit society, from medical to emergency management to simplifying a lot of the record keeping so that people can get their records, to things for the Veterans Administration. Blockchain could really move the world forward, but it would be much easier if we all work together. Jovan?
Awesome. Very well said. Jovan. Jovan, it's all you, man. Why don't you say a quick word and let all these fine people go? You give them back a few more minutes of their day, but you have to
You're
get off
muted,
mute.
Jovan.
Unmute.
Oh, I'm unmuted.
Perfect.
So this was the most frequently used sentence in business communication 2020. It's called "You're on mute." Anyway, my name is Jovan Marjanovic, and I'm a member and volunteer with the Government Blockchain Association. I'm also responsible for global development and chapter operations. And I want to just reemphasize that we are a member-supported and member-funded organization. Everyone, as you, those of you who are not members on this call knows our meetings are usually open to the public and free to attend. But the participation in our working groups is not. So membership has its privileges. You can join the working groups, you can join communities of interest, and you can speak at GBA events if you are a member. Professional membership is not expensive, and I think everyone should be a member. And organizational membership is also helpful because it gets you listed on the GBA website. It gets you promoted through the chapter organization, and it's a very strong. The chapter organization is becoming a very strong networking mechanism for all of us members. So if you're not a member already, consider becoming. And if you need more information, let me know. My link is in the chat box, and I will send it one more time.
Thank you, Jovan. And then I just like last couple things, if you wouldn't mind, if you have any thoughts about this session, any other sessions you'd like to see, any sort of parting comments from anybody attending. Love to hear your thoughts and comments, again, about this event or about some events you'd like to see us do in the future. So with that, I'm going to say goodbye. I'll let you guys, I'll leave this open so people can scrape the chat, and in about 4 minutes, and I'll shut it down. So thank you, everybody, for attending.